Sahana Vavatu Sahanau Bhunaktu Sahaviryam Karavavagai Tejasvinavaditamastu ma vidvishavagai. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Gurur Brahma Gurur Vishnu Gurur Devo Maheshwaraha Gurureva Param Brahma Tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha. Samasta Jana Kalyane Niratam Karunamayam Namami Chinmayam Devam Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram Sadgurum Brahma Vidvaram. Vasudev Vasutam Devam Kamsa Chanuramardanam Devaki Paramanandam Krishnam Vande Jagadgurum. Bhaktum Subodha Vedantam Pravruto Hyabudopyaham Kripaya Yasya Tam Vande Shri Ganesham Punah Punah Vande Saraswatim Devim Sadgurum Me Mahamatim Sita Sameta Shri Ramam Yachantu Shubhadham Matim. Yajno Danam Tapaschadi Yajno Danam Tapaschadi Sagunopasanam Japaha Sagunopasanam Japaha Sadhanam Bahirangam Tat Sadhanam Bahirangam Tat Katyate Sastra Sajjanaihi Katyate Shastra Sajjanaihi. The scriptures and wise men enumerate outer spiritual practices like ritualistic fire worship, yajna, charity, dana, austerity, tapas, worship of God, saguna upasana, and repetition of mantra, japa, etc.
So in the text, what we are now seeing are different methods to master our mind. In the Shastra, they don't use the word master the mind, they use the word purify the mind. But it means the same thing. Okay? It's called Chitta Shuddhi. And we said two aspects. One is Chitta Shuddhi, purification, and the second aspect is called Samadhanam or Chitta Ekagra, which means single pointedness. So these are the two elements or aspects that we have to work on in order to master our mind. So to master our mind, we must purify it, which means get rid of rajas and tamas, that is dullness and distraction. And then we have to make it single pointed. Yeah. This is all part of step one of spirituality. Step one of spirituality is called mastery of mind. And that's why at this level of spirituality, even many people who have no spiritual belief, no spiritual goal, they can still benefit. Because they will still benefit from mastering their mind. Yeah. So that mastery, two aspects, we said, purification and single pointedness. Now, in order to achieve this first stage, there are a variety of techniques. In fact, innumerable are the techniques that you can employ in order to master your mind. And that's why we find that there are many teachers, yeah, whether on YouTube or various other mediums. There are so many different teachers that are available that are able to share tips, hints, secrets of success and how to master oneself. And all of them are valid and all of them can be beneficial because so many can be there. Now, according to Shastra, again, there are many, many, many. And we won't go through every one of them, but now in this text, a certain few have been given. Yajño dhanam tapaschadi sagunopasanam japaha. So in this text, they have given this. Some of the techniques, yajñaha, worship, sacrifice. Dhanam, giving, generosity. Yeah. Tapas, austerity, single-pointedness. Adi, etc. That means many more are there. Then sagunopasanam, thinking of the Lord with form. And japa, repetition of a mantra. This is what is enumerated in this text. Yeah. And these first three, yajño, dhanam, tapas, they have been given in the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, Bhagavan has said these three are most purifying. So, last week we had looked at tapas. Week before we had looked at dhanam. So, tapas last week was how to become single-pointed. Week before that, dhanam. The dhanam we took up was abhaya dhanam. Yeah, the gift of fearlessness. This week, we can look at the word yajña. Yeah. So this week, we will look at the word yajña because this is given, comes first in the list. Now, what does yajña mean? This word yajña is very interesting because I was looking it up that it is used tremendously in the Bhagavad Gita. In the Bhagavad Gita, this word yajña will come 20, 30 times. This word yajña. Yeah. And if you look at other Shastras, they don't talk that much about this word. Yajña is not used so much. But in Bhagavad Gita, it's come a lot. And Bhagavan has used this word yajña 30 times, let's say. And in that, he's given different meanings for this word yajña. In different portions of the Gita, he's used it in different ways. And therefore, it is good that we understand how it can be seen in a broader context, this word yajña. Because it is such a commonly used word in the Bhagavad Gita, it is definitely worth us exploring what are all the different meanings. And so there are three standpoints from which you can understand the word yajña. The first standpoint is ritualistic worship. Ritualistic worship. So from the standpoint of ritualistic worship, there's one meaning. From the second standpoint is from the standpoint of karma yoga. Karma yoga, where it is considered the spirit of selfless, dedicated activity. Yeah? The spirit of selfless service from karma yoga point of view. And the third point of view is from jnana yoga, from knowledge point of view. And there the definition is yajña is the self. Yajña stands for the self. So all this is just found in Bhagavad Gita actually. So in Bhagavad Gita, these three standpoints are given. Yeah. And I think that what Bhagavan was doing is that he had to redefine that word at that time or in that era. Prior to Bhagavan's avatar, Shri Krishna, then the word yajna has largely got connotation to the first meaning, ritualistic worship. That is the prevalent understanding at that time. The word yajna meant deva ijyante yena yajnena, that by which devatas are worshipped, which means homam, yaga, yajna. It is a ritual that is done. Now, this ritual that is done, Sri Shankaracharya commented on a lot of these things, yeah? And in that, he has said, in this traditional meaning, Ritvig yajmanayoho vyaparaha karmaha. So that activity which is done between the priest and the worshipper, yajamana. Yajamana is worshipper, Ritvig is the priest. The activity that they are conducting. Now, what is the priest and the worshipper doing? The worshipper is one who goes to the priest and says, actually, I want a particular result. Here, traditionally, yajna didn't mean worshipping God for the sake of God. A lot of it was worshipping God for the sake of gain. Yeah. Whether I wanted gain in the form of name, fame, wealth, yeah, entry into heaven. I wanted to get into heaven. Therefore, you have to do yajna. I wanted a child. So then if I want child, they also did yajnas. We saw that Dasharatha did that. In order to have a child, he instructed, do this yajna. And from that, Devata will come out. That Devata will give payasam. Then that payasam you give to your wife. And you have to. So it's putrartikama. For the sake of putra. Vittartikama. For the sake of vittam. Swargartikama. For the sake of swarga, heaven. So in the traditional meaning of yajna, it was ritualistic worship, which was done for material gain. There was something that individual wanted. They were not doing it because they were great mumukshus, they did it for chitta shuddhi, or they did it for, winning God's grace. It wasn't so much that. They wanted something. Yeah. And this is tradition. That's why you'll find when you read Puranas, anyone and everyone is doing yajna. Because anyone and everyone has actually got desire for something. They all have desires for something. That's why all of them are engaged in yajna the whole time. But their purpose was to gain something. This is the traditional meaning. Now, what also is involved in it? In order to do that yajna, a person needed wealth, actually. You couldn't do yajna if you were poor. You had to be a wealthy person because the yajna was very expensive to do. Because lots of havi has to be offered. Havi is your grain. These grains have to be offered. And when you do this type of worship, if you're doing worship for gain, you have to follow all the instructions. Even today, if you're doing worship to gain something in this world, you have to follow all the instructions, which means time, place, objects, adhikari, the person doing it, they have to undergo some preparation or purification. Yeah, so they are given certain preparations, they have to do that. Then a time and a place is set, you have to follow that time and that place. The priest says 5 o'clock in the morning we have to do it, and it must be facing east, or it must be facing west. You have to do that, you have to follow that. Yeah, and then he said these 5 things must be offered. You have to get those 5 things. And it could be very expensive to procure, but you have to go get it. Because at this level, what you're doing is a karma to get a phala. You're doing the yajna so that you can get a particular result. The person is interested in the result. So if I am interested in the result, then I must follow as per the Vidhi. That's why some people have the question, or priest has asked me to do all these things. Do I need to do them? But why are you doing that worship? If you are doing it for any material gain, which means good health, my daughter getting married, somebody getting a job, these are all material gains. Only if you're doing for Chitta Shuddhi do things change. If you're doing it to purify your mind, then everything changes. But if you're doing it because you want something in this world, then you have to follow the instruction given by the priest. That's the rule. And even today, it must be followed like that. So in the ritualistic form, people were doing it for material gain, but there was an element that they had to give something. They had to offer something. They had to sacrifice something. And in those days, it was wealth. There was a big sacrifice of wealth in order to make sure that all the necessary equipment was available to do that yajna. So generally, wealthy people could do these elaborate yajnas. Yeah. Then you had to pay dakshina to the priest. Then even sometimes you had to learn how to chant certain mantras. The yajamana had to know how to chant mantras. He cannot just be like sitting there going, I don't know how to chant, priest, you chant for me. No. So he had to learn how to chant mantras. The mantra should be there. And then dakshina should be there. All these things were there. So this was a ritualistic thing. And of course, we understand it as having that Havan Kund, the fire is there. Yeah. And then Yajman sits on one side, Ritvik sits on another side. And then you have to follow certain things. All these procedures had to be followed. This is in ritualistic worship. Okay. So that's the one definition. This is the traditional definition that is understood prior to the Gita. Prior to the Bhagavad Gita, this is all the word yajna meant for people. And then as the Bhagavad Gita comes, Bhagavan now is redefining this word. And he is now trying to pull out the essence of this word. And this is why he uses this word so many times in the Bhagavad Gita, because he's trying to redefine it. He wants to break people's understanding of it being purely ritualistic. And he wants to bring out the sara, the essence of that word. And so that's why we find that in the third chapter, which is called Karma Yoga, the 9th verse, third chapter, 9th verse, very important verse where the word yajna is redefined. And he says, Yajna tat karmanon yatra lokoyam karma bandanaha tadartam karma kaunteya mukta sangha samachara. It's a very important verse. This is the essence of Karma Yoga. He says, all actions which are not done for the sake of yajna, in the spirit of yajna, they lead to bondage. And he says, Arjuna, Kaunteya, son of Kunti, please do all your actions for the sake of yajna. And by doing that, you become mukta sangha. You become free of all bondage. This is a very revolutionary statement, because he's redefining the word yajna. He says, yajnartat, for the sake of yajna. So here when he's saying, he is not talking about the ritual, because he's saying, tadartam karma kaunteya, mukta sangha samachara. Do all your actions for the sake of yajna. Now, how can you run your day if everything has to be a havan kund? if everything is a havan kund, how are you going to do anything? You can't get anything done. There will be no transaction, because everything you have to do before going into your car, you have to do some havan. And before eating breakfast, do some havan. Before do one havan. Getting changed, do one havan. How are you going to do everything with a havan attached to you? So clearly the traditional ritualistic definition does not fit. How can Arjuna fight a war with a oven? You cannot fight a war with oven. The war has to be fought with bow and arrow. Therefore, the spirit of yajna is what he's talking about. He says, now you do it with the spirit of yajna. And what is this spirit of yajna? It is that now, with all your actions that you're going to perform, offer them, dedicate them towards a higher cause. That is what he means. All your actions should now be dedicated for the sake of a higher cause. But Arjuna, you can keep doing your action. You're a Kshatriya, do your Kshatriya dharma. Fight. I am not asking you to sit down and become a priest. I am saying, with bow and arrow in hand, go fight this war. But now you do it for or dedicated to a higher goal, nobler goal. So in this definition, now what we find is the spirit of the word yajna is being used. That yajna means to work selflessly, dedicated towards a higher goal. And now it's kind of different to the previous one, because the previous one, that person was doing a ritual, but they were doing a ritual for personal gain. Now you can do all your actions, but you do them for something higher. Yeah. And in this, what is happening, the person, they're not offering money, they're not offering havir, they're not offering grain and rice. They are offering their personal agendas. Our selfish motivation to act is being offered into the fire of my higher altar and cause. So when I live as an individual, then what happens is I get used to doing everything for myself. Then if I get married, then when I marry, now all of a sudden I have to start doing my actions for the benefit of everyone here. So my immediate family becomes my higher altar. And now everything is done for the sake of that higher altar. It is not done for me. So when I cook, I don't cook for me. I cook for family. When I clean, I don't clean for me. I clean for family. Yeah? When I work and earn income, that income is meant for family. That's a form of yajna. This is where the higher altar is the kutumba. Yeah? Family. And now everything is dedicated. I think most people can understand that. So we are giving up our own selfish, personal agendas, desires for the sake of something higher. Here, the higher is just family. However, we should take it to another level. And beyond that, Bhagavan says, work for loka. Loka sangrahamevapi sampashyan kartumarhasi. He said, you work for the sake of society. This is higher than family. Elevate your altar now. And now work for the benefit of society. This is an important aspect that we have to bring in to our lives. Because many times, okay, working for family is quite normal and it is quite natural for people to do. But where we fail is to work for society. So we don't push the altar any higher. Here in this karma yoga, your altar must keep becoming higher and higher and higher. You cannot settle. Wherever you settle, that's where you stay. So if my altar is only my family, you'll be stuck there only, attached to family. Then I must push it to society. Yeah, loka sangraham. But higher than society, Bhagavan says, Mai sarvani karmani sanyasya dhyatma chetasa. He said, you work for me. Do it for me, Arjuna. That means do it for God. This is higher than even society. That my work, my life is dedicated towards the Lord. This comes even higher because sometimes when you go to serve the people are very unappreciative and don't care. And sometimes when you serve the people, your service to the people also just has no impact at all. Yeah, and nothing happens for me. And therefore, I dedicate my life to the worship of God only. In the worship of God, hopefully I will earn His grace. Shri Parameshwara Prithiyartham. He will be pleased with me. Shri Sadguru Prasada Siddhyartham. The grace of Guru. I work for this. But Guruji says 2G. Work for 2G, God and Guru. He says you don't need anything more than 2G. Now you see the altar must keep climbing. And in the Gita, Bhagavan is pushing Arjuna to higher altars. He initially, because Arjuna is so consumed with this being a personal thing. That's why he doesn't want to fight. Because he said, why should I go and attack my family? He's made it personal, which means he's brought in all his personal agendas. Then Bhagavan says, no, yajñātā karmanonyatra. You do it for the sake of yajna. Sacrifice your personal agendas for this higher cause. What is your higher cause? Loka sangramevapi. You do it for the sake of society. But then he says, higher than that, you do for me. All this is given in the Gita. Yeah. So this is really what is the essence of Karma Yoga. In Karma Yoga, what we are trying to do is do our ordinary prescribed karmas as per our designation, responsibilities. We have certain duties we have to do. Perform those duties, but now do them for a higher cause. Yeah. And what am I offering and sacrificing? I am offering and sacrificing personal agenda. And that personal agenda has got, of course, attachment to a particular result. That's what I'm giving. Yeah. So this is yajna from the standpoint of karma yoga. Yeah. And this is how commonly it is used in the Bhagavad Gita. It's commonly used in this context. However, there's one more that he says. And there's a higher level where the word yajna is used in 4th chapter when he's describing jnana yajna. And in jnana yajna, he says in this one, the altar is the self. And we are offering to that self, now the ego is being offered. To the higher self, the lower self is offered. Ignorance. Lower self means ignorance. Misconception that I am a finite, limited individual called jiva. This concept is offered into the altar of supreme knowledge, which says, I am Brahman, I am infinite. And that's why you will find definition of yajna, yajño vai Vishnuhu. Bhagavan himself is yajna. And Bhagavan says in Gita, aham kratur aham yajñaha, I am yajna. The 9th chapter, Bhagavan says this, I am yajna. Aham kratur aham yajñaha, I am yajna. When he says I am yajna, it means that I am the highest altar into which you offer now. Don't offer your attachments to your results. Offer yourself. This is a higher level. In Karma Yoga, we are maintaining an identity, but we are offering our personal attachments. Here, he says, I don't want your attachments. I want you. You offer yourself now. Everything must go. Like one is doing a garage sale to sell all the little bits and pieces in your house. The other one is you sell the whole house. Finished, gone. Everything is gone. There's no garage sale. The garage itself is for sale. It's not a garage sale. We're gone. Finished. Take the garage. So in this garage sale, the garage is, the house also comes along with it. The lawn comes along with it. Everything comes along with it. Yeah. So this is a path of knowledge. So in knowledge, the person is offering the whole entire ahankara. Ego is offered into the higher self. That is called jnana yajna. And this word jnana yajna is what our Puju Gurudev had called our lectures. He called our lectures jnana yajnas. Gita jnana yajna. You would have heard this. This is something Gurudev popularized within our Chinmaya mission. But of course, it is taken from Gita only. Because in the Gita, he finally said, this is the highest type of yajna. Now, all yajnas, he said jnana yajna is the best. It is higher than dravya yajna. It is higher than the karma yoga. It is higher than everything else. So this is the hierarchy. Now, if you understand this word, yeah, now look at this word, yajna. Now we have to pull out what the essence of it is. If we look in all three categories, we have ritualism, we have karma yoga, and then we have jnana yoga. In all three categories, the main point is you have to make an offering. This is the main point. Something must be offered. In the ritual, you have to offer wealth in order to get something else, some entrance into heaven. In karma yoga, you have to offer your personal ambition and desires towards the Lord for the benefit of society or for the worship of God. And in jnana yajna, you offer your ego, the entire ahankara, your concept of self is given up. That I am so and so. No, you are not so and so. You are not the mother of someone. You are not the father of someone. You are not the daughter of someone. You are Brahman. That is offered. So in all three, there is an offering which is made. And this is the essence of the word yajna. We must make an offering. Now, coming to our day-to-day life, sometimes the word offering obviously is connected in a more devotional, ritualistic sense, the word offering. But another word people can understand and has the same meaning is the word sacrifice. The word sacrifice means exactly the same thing. To offer something is to sacrifice that thing. And what does it mean? To let go, to give up. To give something which is meaningful to you. It should be meaningful to you. It's called sacrifice. If it's not meaningful to me, it's not a sacrifice. Like if one child takes another child's toy and says, Mama, you can have that and throw that out. With a garage sale, you can sell that. Yeah, so we're looking for things to sell. He takes the other child's toy and sells it. I'm making a great sacrifice. I'm sacrificing my brother's toys. No, that is not a sacrifice because it's not meaningful to you. Yeah. But if that child has been holding on to that teddy bear for the last 5 years, finally said the teddy bear we can give away to another child, then that is sacrifice. Where that teddy bear was so meaningful for that child, and give it up. So in sacrifice, it is giving, but it is giving up something which is so dear to you. That is called sacrifice. Yeah. That's why we look at it for the ritualistic person, the money is dear. So they give up money in order to get to heaven. The money is dear for them because they're materialistic. Well, for karma yoga, my particular outcome, the outcome that I want, that is dear to me. I want this outcome. And then Bhagavan said, you let go of that outcome. You do your action, but you don't worry about outcome. So give up your personal agenda. That personal agenda is very dear to me. And of course, the highest level, the dearest thing to me is my ahankara only. Because with this ahankara, I have been working in this world for so long, getting my success with my ahankara. So all these things are very dear. They're very close. And that's why the word sacrifice is sometimes hard to do. sacrifice, to make a sacrifice is hard because it forces me to give up something which is close to me. And therefore, if I have to make a sacrifice and the altar is not high enough, then I don't feel inspired to give that thing up. Yeah. Now think, the child has to give up the toy for a garage sale. Now, if mama says the garage sale is because there's too much junk in this house, so we just want to get rid of it, then the child does not feel this is a very high, lofty motive. So the child, no, I'll keep on to this. Because she just wants to spring cleaning, she wants to just get rid of things. Yeah? Now, if the mother turns around and says, there's another boy here, and he really likes it, he's 5 years old, you are 10 years old, and just like this toy has given you so much joy, why don't you give to him? He'll be so happy. Why don't you do that? Now, all of a sudden, that altar is a bit higher. Yeah? Because now if I give that boy, might get a lot more happiness out of it. So now that's a bit more inspiring, he may give up. But sometimes you say, why doesn't his parents just buy him that toy? What is his problem? So sometimes that also not high enough altar. Then if parents say, you know, Baba, I didn't want to tell you this, you're only 10 years old, but actually we're on the verge of bankruptcy. And because we are bankrupt, we need to sell everything in the house. So without this, you can't go to school, you can't get food, we are desperate. Everything must be sold. We are so desperate. Now the child will feel like, we are so desperate that it must go. Everything must be sold. Yeah. Then that child, okay, now this is a very high purpose because we are at the brink of absolute poverty. It must be given up. And everyone is giving everything up. So therefore it must be given up. So when the altar is higher, it becomes easy to sacrifice. When the altar is low, it becomes hard to sacrifice. But sacrifice can be done by all. Everyone is capable of it. You see, you have to bring in an altar which motivates that person, inspires that person. That person feels dedicated. They feel love for that. They must be also connected at the heart level. That they feel passionate about that, then they will make that sacrifice. And in this environment of love and devotion to your altar, that love makes the sacrifice easy. You don't even feel it's a sacrifice when it's done for love. So the higher the altar, the stronger the feeling of love that is there. And with these two factors, sacrifice becomes easy and effortless. It is not such a difficult thing to do. So we have to keep on thinking in our life, what is our higher altar? All of us are working for something, but many times we have not clearly defined it. We don't know what we are working for. And this is where a lot of our personal ambitions just end up coming again. They come through again. Yeah? And then see, if you map out our life, it's very interesting. Prior to marriage, the human being is only working for themselves. No one works for anyone else. We are primarily interested only in ourselves. Yeah? We are trained that way. And actually, because we are going through what I say, the larva stage, the larva before it becomes the moth or whatever, the butterfly, that caterpillar stage, that larva stage, what does it do? It just keeps on consuming. So the adult before maturity consumes more than what it produces. All organisms do this. All organisms have to consume more than what they produce prior to full maturity. Yeah. So it is a selfish method of living. Every larva that is sitting there, every caterpillar that is sitting there, they're only consuming for themselves. They're not sharing with anyone else. They are just destroying the entire environment for their own expansion. That's how they're living. And human beings are doing exactly the same thing. Yeah. Then only when a person gets married, then do they start thinking someone else has to be served. And then when they add another 2 more into the picture, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, the more you have, higher the altar is, the bigger the altar is, the more kutumba is there. That's our olden days. 10 children, no problems. We'll figure out how to feed them. Now they one child, precious, precious one child. Oh, Raja. Oh, Raja. Raja should have everything. Raja should live like Raja only. Huh? And so the children, the house becomes smaller. There's less people there. Yeah. Now what happens, at least he's gone from, or she's gone from working for themselves to now work for them and me and the partner. Then me, partner, and children. Yeah? And then as parents age, now even prior to the parents are healthy, we also don't do anything for them. Yeah? Only when parents age and then some problems are there, then, oh, okay, we extend ourselves and help. But you sometimes have a good 10, 20 years where parents' health is also very good. Nothing is done. Then eventually we bring parents in and we do a little bit for them. This generally is what makes up the common man's altar for his life. He generally doesn't extend himself beyond this. He stays with his children, a little bit of his parents, a little bit of siblings, one brother-in-law that always needs money. This much he generally helps, you know. But beyond that, he doesn't really get too involved. Yeah. And you know, at another level, this is a very capitalistic mentality, actually. In capitalism, you are encouraged only to work for yourself. You're not encouraged to share. Yeah. Now, I'm not saying I'm a socialist or anything like that, but what I'm trying to say is we are very conditioned by these thoughts because we are raised this way. This is how we are raised. We are raised in a capitalistic society which says whatever you earn is yours. The only way the government can get it off you is to say it's a tax, and then if you don't pay it, we put you in jail. Otherwise, we would never give that up. We would never give that up. Only government says it is tax and you have to pay it, and if you don't pay it, you go straight to jail. Tax evasion is a big problem. Like, it's a big penalty. Yeah? Otherwise, given our own nature, we will never pay that. We'll keep it all for ourselves. Yeah? So because of this mentality, by nature, we generally tend to be quite insular. We generally are thinking of ourselves. That's why there's a need to have a higher altar. Otherwise, we always remain within our ego. And if you continue to remain within your ego, finally, even the people living with you will not be able to tolerate it. It will become a big problem. Because people cannot live together if everyone is selfish. Communities cannot be sustained if everyone is selfish. Societies cannot be sustained if everyone is selfish. If everyone just thinks me and my family, society cannot be sustained. That's why governments have to impose things. Like, honestly, the government keeps on pleading, please use common sense. But people won't use common sense because the personal gain is there. That I will break the law. That why can't I enjoy something after 8 p.m. curfew? Let me go roam around the city. Why do I need to wear face mask? It's so uncomfortable for me. We are seeing that. Yeah. Given our natural disposition, our ego takes over. That's why Bhagavan says, now you work for the sake of yajna, have a higher altar. And so we have to consciously think about this higher altar. The family becomes kind of ordinary, but beyond the family, it does require conscious thinking. You have to sit down and really think, who and what am I going to serve? What cause am I going to serve? And when we find a cause in life that we are willing to serve, then life becomes meaningful. Otherwise, prior to this, prior to me growing, maturing, full adulthood, reproducing, all this is animal behavior. Animals can achieve all this. There's no difference between the human being and the animal, actually. Because all these things animals can achieve. There's nothing great. only difference is when the human being starts serving others. Then his life becomes dignified. Then he's living up to the dignity of a human being. Then his existence is a blessing. But as long as we remain within ourselves, it's just basically pashu iva, just like animal, pashu iva. So if we consciously think how we want to serve that society, what cause inspires us, all of a sudden a transformation will start taking place. You will find that it's very easy to let go of all your personal comforts, me time, so much downtime. You can give up all that. And you will actually get inspired to serve others. Yeah. And in the service of others, their life becomes benefited and your mind becomes benefited. Your mind gets purged of its selfish tendencies, that rajas and tamas. This is called chitta shuddhi. Because rajas and tamas are always directed towards the individual. Rajas and tamas are always connected to ego. They strengthen the ego. They fortify the ego. Sattva ends up dissolving the ego. Sattva dissolves the ego. And the spirit of service is sattvic. Therefore, as I embrace and take up a cause to serve, personally, you are gaining. Personally, you are gaining because you are giving up rajas and tamas and your mind is becoming more sattvic. So the actual individual stands to gain because their growth now starts taking place. And what happens when you become sattvic? Oh, wonderful things happen. So as the mind becomes more sattvic, it becomes filled with energy and enthusiasm. A lot of energy and enthusiasm. There's a lot of calmness that comes. There's a lot of joy that also comes. Praharsha is there. Praharsha means joy, enthusiasm. Yeah. The mind becomes stronger, so its capacity to deal with failure is also stronger. Yeah. Because I'm not working for my personal agenda, and I'm not so personally invested that if it falls, the whole devastation is on me. Yeah. So then there's less attachment also because there's less personal gain. There's less personal gain. It's like, say I'm working in a team. Yeah. And I have an idea and the person next to me has an idea. Now, if I'm very egotistical, then I want my idea should be implemented. But now I think what's benefit of the group of people, even if that person's idea has got benefit of the group of people, then let them do it. Because the bottom line is the people should be served. The people should be benefited. And if their idea will benefit the people, then why does my idea need to be pushed forward? The reason I'm pushing my idea forward is because I want to be seen as the leader. I want to be seen as the brainchild. No, let them give their ideas also. If the bottom line is, if the people are benefited by this person's project, idea, implementation, then let that go ahead. Why? Because I am not attached to my personal agenda of holding a position, of being the one in charge, of being the brainchild of this whole thing and getting some credit somewhere. No. The idea is that the people should benefit. And if that benefit comes through someone else, then let it be there. Yeah, let it be there. This is how when you work for the service of others, when you work for a higher altar, it becomes easy to let go of our own personal agendas. Yeah. So with a higher cause and a higher altar in life, there is transformation. That's why in the Gita it says, he said two things. He said, as you do this mukta sangha samachara, he said, you act in such a way free of attachment, but actually you become attached. He says you work free of attachment, but the result is actually mukta sangha. Mukta, freed. Sangha, attachment. Attachment, you must understand, is bondage. That the cords and fetters of attachment slowly get pulled away, loosened. And what does that look like? That looks like more joy, more enthusiasm, more happiness, more tranquility, more devotion, more clarity. These are all the characteristics of a sattvic mind. If you want to read more about that, you should read Vivekachudamani. Around 100, verse 115, I think is there. He talks about characteristic of a sattvic mind. And in that, a lot of details are given. There's more viveka, more clarity, more vairagya, more dispassion. Praharsha, great joy comes. You get spontaneous joy. You get joy without having to indulge in a sense object. You know, a lot of people are saying that, oh, when they wake up now, there's no motivation. A lot of people are saying, hard to be motivated in lockdown, hard to be. Sattvic mind doesn't have any problem with motivation. No motivation issues whatsoever. Sattvic person doesn't even click on YouTube looking for motivation. No interest in motivation. Because self-motivated. They're so happy. There's so much joy. They're happy to meet the world. Huh? Whereas a lot of us, oh God. Oh, another day. This person is like, God, yes, another day. I'm really excited about this. I'm so excited. All this is what happens when you have a sattvic mind. Yeah? This is a transformation we can have. We can enjoy this. But we have to consciously bring in a higher altar in our life. Do not expect this to naturally happen. Naturally, this does not happen in people's lives. It is not a natural progression. The natural progression of life is to build the family, sit with the family, and then decay with the family. That's it. And as we decay, we hope the family wants to hang around us. But generally, people don't like hanging around things that decay. But generally, things that decay get pushed off to the side. That's the natural order. If you don't do any work, this is how life works. But if you finally embrace this ideology and consciously take up a cause in your life to serve, then your life takes a whole different trajectory. It has meaning, it has purpose, and with that, there is great enthusiasm and interest. The other thing that happens, of course, is that when you come to serve a cause, that cause will ask of you things which you don't have. It will ask for skills and talents which you have never used before. But when the cause asks for it, it's almost like it will pull it out of you. That if you are dedicated to that cause, that skill will come out. That talent will come out. That potential will express. It's almost like a magnet. That cause is like a magnet which is trying to pull out these iron pieces which are hidden within you. And it just starts drawing it out. All you have to do is keep your mind dedicated to that cause. You keep your mind dedicated to the cause, these things will happen. I have seen it in the mission all the time. That when it comes to, we always have to recruit Bal Vihar teachers. Whenever we recruit Bal Vihar teachers, nearly, I would say 95% of Bal Vihar teachers, when you approach them, they all say, Swamiji, I can't do this. I've never taught children before. I don't know any Puranas. I don't know any chanting. I don't know anything only. Everyone starts the same. So whenever I ask for Bal Vihar teacher, I wait for this response and I expect it. So it's okay. It's coming. Yeah? You just have to have some chai, have chai. Have some biscuit, have some biscuit. Let them talk. They can't do anything, don't know anything, can't do anything. This talk has to continue on. Okay. Dialogue is done. Then once the dialogue is done, I say, but I have 10 children. Those 10 children, they want to learn chanting. They want to know Hinduism. These are NRI children. They're living in Australia, and if we let them go for too long, they'll be worshipping football, not Bhagavan. So then, come on, give them an opportunity. Why don't you do something? Help these children. Even if you chant Gayatri Mantra a bit off, doesn't matter. You teach them something, they'll never know. The only chanting they'll know is Aussie, Aussie, Aussie. Oi, oi, oi. This is the only chanting and mantra they'll learn. So you teach them something. Teach them. And then when you start talking like this about the children and the children who miss out, then they say, oh, children. I must do for children, we should do. Yeah. I need it. We are desperate. We need, okay. For children, if they need, I will try, Swamiji, I will try. And then you send them for training. We train them, we teach them and all that. I think first class, very nervous, sweat coming down everywhere, sweating the whole time. Entire lesson plan is being written out, word for word. Hari Om, children. Good morning. Good morning. What is your name? Write down all their names. It's very mechanical. It's how it starts. And when they tell a story, they read the story of every page. And then Ram had a brother. The brother's name was Lakshman. Okay, good. And Ram got married to Urmila, Sita only. Okay, sorry, made a mistake. Okay, sorry. Okay, Urmila, Sita. Okay, Lakshman married Urmila. Okay, like this they work through. And then as they start progressing, they start seeing that when they tell the story by looking at the child gets excited. So when they stop looking at the book and they look at the child gets excited. Oh. And then you add some hand movement. You say, Ram, pull the bow. And then when they do that, the child, oh, and then the boys are running around after that, pulling bows and shooting everything. And then they get so energized. And then we say, why don't you try some chanting with them? So when they did that, and then the monkeys chant, Bole Shyam Ramachandra ki Jai, and then the teacher tries, and then the children all get inspired, Jai, 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 and then all of a sudden the teacher gets inspired. If I do this, the children are so enthused by it. This all progresses, and then that mother, that housewife who said she was not capable of doing anything, give 1 year, and she'll know all the mantras. 1 year, and she'll tell a story better than even you can tell a story. 1 year, she's memorized the entire Ramayana, and she can tell it by heart. Yeah? And she knows how to do all different hand gestures and make it dramatic, and she knows all different activities to do along with that. And they become amazing teachers. They're so brilliant. But when we brought them in, I can't as a mentality. Then that dedication towards that higher goal, for them it's the children. When they see those children every week, then all of a sudden it pulls something out of them. It pulls something out of them. Yeah? That they say, I should try singing a bhajan. I should try using hand gestures. I should try a bit of acting. I should try some drama. I should try doing a game with them. Yeah? And they all of a sudden start doing all these things and become so skilled. And I remember, I know one teacher, exactly this was her path only. When I first asked her, no, can't do anything. Then she taught for many years. And then one time, I wanted to see how she was teaching. So I actually went into the next room, and the next room had a door which was sliding. And I just slid that door, and then from a distance, I was looking at her. She did not know I was there. She couldn't see me. It was obstructed by this door. I was looking through the crack and looking at her. It was such a good class. She was in front of 15 children. She was standing up and doing all wonderful gestures and all this while she was teaching the story. I was shocked by how good this class was that I actually wanted to sit in the class myself. I was like, now every week I'm going to attend your Bhav Vihar class. So I was very keen to do that. It was so good. Yeah. But from what I had seen to what she was doing, I was astounded. Then some of them go on to become camp coordinators, leaders. There's so many things come out of them. All this because higher goal has been taken into their life. Yeah. So this is the benefits of adopting this yajna lifestyle. And this is what Bhagavan is saying. He said, Arjuna, do everything for yajna. Amazing things will come out of you. And you will find great peace of mind. So for the person who does this, there is benefit to them and there is benefit to society. Both benefit. That's why he says, Ishtan devan hivo deva dasyante yajna bhavitaha in the Gita. Whatever you want, you worship. He says, you worship those devatas. When you worship those devatas, they will bless you with what you want. And he says, both of you will come to benefit. Parasparam bhavayantah shreya paramavapsyata. Mutually nurturing each other, you will come to benefit. The society you serve benefits, you come to benefit. Through this manashanti, sattvic mind, all these things. Therefore, yajna is such a wonderful thing. But we must consciously take it up. Do not think this will happen naturally. We have to consciously choose a cause in our life, and then we have to work with commitment and dedication towards that cause. As we take that up, everyone comes to benefit. Okay? So in this way, we have looked at the topic of yajna. Finally, through that purification of mind, when the mind becomes chitta shuddhi, chitta samadhanam, then you move to the next level. And the next level is then that path of jnana yoga, where contemplation, meditation, where you realize that yajna you're performing for God, that God you are worshipping, that God finally is the higher self. And then into that higher self, lower self itself is offered. Everything alone. Yeah, that will come later in this text. The next shloka is going to talk about that. But that's the third meaning of the word yajna. That's why Bhagavan gives all three meanings. Ritualistic point of view, from karma yoga point of view, and from jnana yoga point of view, all of that, Bhagavan has used the word yajna. So it's very fascinating that in the Gita, this word comes so many times. It's so important. Yeah. Therefore, we should also make our life yajna. At a practical level, I'll give you some practical points. Yeah. Traditionally, it's said also we are supposed to do daily pancha yajna. Pancha yajna means 5 different sacrifices should be made. 1, deva, to God. 2, rishi, to the forefathers of our culture and tradition, or rishis. 3, pitrus, your own ancestors. 4, nru. Nru means society. Society you live in. And 5, bhuta. Bhuta means creatures, animals, environment. These 5 yajnas are prescribed daily person should do. Yeah. So daily, some sort of worship must be done towards God. Then how is rishi yajna done? Rishi yajna means you must maintain your culture. Yeah. So maintenance of culture, whether through study of Shastra, so you understand your culture. It's not good enough to sit there and say, I don't know. Nowadays with internet, with so many books, read. Stop waiting for some teacher to teach you. You must take the onus to learn. Actually, traditionally, there was no Bal Vihar because a lot of these things were taught through parents and family traditions. These things were imparted. Yeah. So we must become more aware. So study our own culture, chant some mantras. We should become familiar with these things. That is called Rishi Yajna. Pitru Yajna. Pitru Yajna, traditionally Tarpanam, offering of water, but really, Pitru Yajna means gratitude towards our parents, you know. We must learn to acknowledge the sacrifices our parents have made for us. So in some way, we should also find a ritual that we can do. When I say ritual, a practice that we can do to create a feeling of gratitude to our parents. Yeah. That's why in our Hindu culture, when parents pass away, we put their photos on the altar. Yeah. Because we're always indebted to the parents. So you must think, one way is to write a letter, and in that letter, you must keep on adding that feeling of gratitude. Initially, we always say, and I talked about gratitude earlier before, but initially we just, I am grateful you educated me, you fed me, you loved me, and all that. It's a bit superficial. You must go into more depth. Yeah? What impact the affection that you had as a child had upon you now? So I've learned one thing. It's sometimes very hard to recognize what you have been given. Sometimes you have to, when you hear other people's lives, then you realize how blessed you were. Nowadays, this word gets thrown around a lot. Childhood traumas. Everything is a childhood trauma. Every problem that I have in my life today is from a childhood trauma. We love using this word. And this word, childhood trauma, is such a bad word because it's so condemning to the parents. It means the parents did a terrible job because the parents traumatized the child. It's such a high level of ingratitude. There are some general traumas that do happen to children. There is no doubt. But now people just use it for any problem there. I'm late to everything because childhood trauma. My father was late for everything, childhood trauma. I overeat, childhood trauma. This childhood trauma. I can't take responsibility for my life, childhood trauma. Everything is a childhood trauma. It makes your parents sound like some tyrants that just beat you all the time. And so, sometimes I meet people and they keep on using this word childhood trauma. My father never did this to me. My mother never did that for me. Maybe they didn't do that. Yeah. I just keep on thinking I'm very blessed because my parents did a lot of things for me. Like, I don't feel traumatized by any of these things, absence or presence of these things. Yeah. And so I think then your gratitude becomes deeper in life, that you realize that the love and affection that I had in my family, that was not normal. That was very special, actually, because other people never got access to this. Maybe the vision that your parents gave you in life, that vision was something other people never got. Yeah. And I think as we age and as people become parents, you should realize how hard it is to actually raise a family with love, with affection, with cohesion, with vision, with opportunities. It's so hard. And if we have received these things, then I think that our gratitude should become shown deeper and more meaningful. So when I say a letter of gratitude, you should really think hard that when you read that letter, tears should come to your eyes. If tears don't come to your eyes, you have not gone beyond the surface. It's mechanical. Yeah, that's how you should know. So that type of gratitude, you should figure out. And then you can also, like we have Pitru Puja, Matru Puja. You can also do some Matru Puja. Yeah, that's worship of your parents. These things can be done. That becomes Pitru Yajna. Then Bhuta Yajna, Nru Yajna, then we must see what society needs. Nru Yajna, what do the people in that society need? See, nowadays I feel like a lot of people, if I look in a migrant community and a recent migrant community such as our community, there's been a loss of elders and a loss of support because elders are all sitting in India. So there's a lack of community here. And I see that as a need that many times people don't have anyone they can turn to. People don't have anyone they can sometimes just talk to, or anyone that can help create a sense of family for them. And so, we have a lot of international students come, or even just people come and they live as kind of just husband and wife. And they just don't get connected to a sense of community. And so sometimes that I see is a big need. If I just look within a migrant community, that is a need. Yeah. But at times it's not all money and it's not food. But sometimes people just need a sense of belonging. They need to feel they belong to something. They're included in something. They're part of something. And if that can be done, that can be done. Then of course there are other needs that are there in society. You can have a look. That will be always there. Maybe homeless people need something. Maybe some people need, English as a second language. These type of skills. So many other things are there that are there. Then Bhuta Yajna means that towards the environment, something should be done. You must do something to protect and save the environment, in some way. These are 5 methods in which yajna can be practiced. So we should adopt some of these immediately. We should not wait. As of today, you should take up some of these pancha yajnas and you should start doing it. And what you should do is, maybe you can't do all 5 today, but by the end of the month, you should be able to perform all 5 daily. You have to figure out a way that you can do all 5 on a daily basis. This is what was given in the Shastra. This is a life of yajna. Then eventually we should find a cause that we want to dedicate a large part of our life towards. Yeah. If you're lucky, if you can find a cause that you dedicate your whole life towards, that is a wonderful thing. Yeah. But even if you're not sure your whole life, at least next 5 years, you figure out what cause you want to work for. Yeah. That should be there. This adds meaning to our life and this will help us grow. This way, I think we've explained everything about the term yajna. Okay. So next week, we'll continue on. Now, next week, topic we'll take is called Saguna Upasana. It's very interesting because some questions have come up about doing puja and all this type of thing. Yeah. So I'll explain a lot about worship and thinking of God. Yeah. Next week, that'll become one of the topics. Yeah, that we take up. Om Purnamada Purnamidam Purnat Purnamadachate Purnasya Purnamadaya Purnamevavashishyate. Om Shanti Shanti Shanti. Hari Om Shri Gurubhyo Namaha. Hari Om.